Hi, I'm Julie Truthsayer. I'm back. Today I'd like to talk about the history of the United States of America, how we were first founded, worshiping the light of God. I'd like to review a little bit because we've been talking about today's society and how there's so much darkness. There's a lot of crime, violence against our vulnerable populations, and hopelessness, the hopelessness of suicide, and drug abuse, how to get out of that, drug addiction, and these psychotic breaks where people are just hauling off and killing a bunch of people. So lots of darkness in our society today, and not a lot of worshiping God's light because we don't have people going to church really even, or thinking about God and God's light. We are just only 17.7% of people are going to church today. So today I would like to show how we started with the Native Americans. They worship the Great Spirit of the universe, and the Sioux called that Great Spirit the Wunkin Tonka. This Great Spirit animates everything and is in everything, is, was, and ever shall be. And they worshipped that spirit in all very deeply, very profoundly and respectfully. It was a very huge part of their lives and their daily rituals, in communion with nature. And if we look at other religions, including Christianity, we see, like I showed you before in Matthew and other verses that talk about the Spirit of God and the light and love that is God. That's great Spirit of light and love. So all the major religions talk about God as being this great Spirit of light and love. So we are all one in that great Spirit. And we would do well to simplify our lives and commune more with that great Spirit of God. In 1607, Jamestown was established by the Mayflower Trading Company of London. They had a way of producing things. They would all till a plot of land and then consolidate all of their harvests into the city government. The government would then turn around and dole everything back to everybody in equal amounts. Well, that didn't work too good because people who had worked really hard and had a big harvest and pooled their resources only got back the same as everybody else. And a lot of people had not been working hard and had only put in a small harvest. So the people who worked hard said, hey, forget this then. I'm not going to work hard either. I'm just going to hardly work. And so there was a big mess there because nobody wanted to work. And also the Algonquin Indians were raiding the community. And John Smith came over from England. He was a soldier of fortune. And the city council, after a while, made him head of the city council. The first thing he said was, if you don't work, you don't eat. And that's been a lot of our philosophy of this country for a long time. And it works. People went back to work then, because they wanted to eat. And pretty soon, everybody was producing. In fact, he gave them each their own plot of land, and then whatever they made, they got to keep. They didn't have to pool it in the government. And that works out a lot better. So the first way they had it, where everything was in a kind of a communal situation and they pooled everything, that's a lot like socialism and communism, and it doesn't work. Nobody gets rewarded when they work hard and when they're extra creative, when they're extra hard workers. And so nobody wants to work then. But the second way is capitalism, where everybody gets their own and they work hard, and the harder they work, the more they make, and they get to keep it. And that is works, because people get rewarded then for working hard. And we don't see that in society today. People are rewarded for not working, and that doesn't work. In the Bible, it also talks about this situation. Jesus told the parable of the master and the talents, and that's in Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. He says that this master had 3 servants, and he called them together because he had to leave for a while, and he gave them each some money. And he said, go ahead and go, and I have to leave too, and I'll be back in a while. And so when the master came back, which seems to be like a year or something, he called his servants together again, and the first servant said, Master, I doubled the money that you gave me. And the master said, wow, thou good and faithful servant, I will make you lord over a lot. And then ruler over many things. There you go. I want to get that right word in there. Okay, so he said, I'll make you ruler over many things. And then the second servant came in and said, Master, I doubled the money you gave me. And the master said, wow, thou good and faithful servant, I will make you ruler over many things. And then the third servant came in and said, Master, I knew you were this hard taskmaster, and that you weren't really honest with everything that you did, and so I hid the money away, and I just didn't do anything. I just sat around this whole time you've been gone. And the master said, wow, thou wicked and slothful servant, you don't get anything, and I'm taking away even what I gave you before. And then in the end it says, you will be cast into outer darkness. And of course the master in the parables is always God, and the servants are always us. And Jesus is saying there, if we don't work and multiply the blessings that God gives us, we are not doing God's will, and we will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. And so we would do well to work hard and multiply the gifts that God has given us, which is many. Then the Pilgrims came in 1620, and they established the Mayflower Compact with everybody on board before they got off the boat. And it says, very simply, if we see that we need any laws, we'll get together and make some laws. Otherwise, they kind of worked by honesty and integrity with each other, and following God's wills. They were very, very religious, and everybody went to church 100%, and things worked out beautifully because everybody treated everybody with brotherhood, respect, light, a lot of light from God. And of course they had even with the Native Americans, treated everybody very fairly, and established a treaty with the Native Americans where they watched each other's back, in different situations. So that became kind of a standard for how we wanted to act with each other here in the United States of America. Then the Puritans came in 1630, and John Winthrop, before they got off the boat, which was in a place that was going to be Boston, which was very hilly, he gave a sermon on the Annabella that said, he quoted Mark 5, verse 14, let your light so shine. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. And he said, the eyes of the world are upon you. This is a great experiment. And so they were setting this example for the rest of the world, how everybody should be following the teachings of God, and in everything that they did. And so that's how we became known as that shining city on the hill, because we were the light for the rest of the world, and freedom, religious freedom, and acting and abiding by the laws of God always in our lives back then. We then used these ideas for our Constitution after we had the Revolutionary War. And then the Constitution was also just the three main branches of government and our Bill of Rights, of course. Today, the three branches of government are out of whack because we have a lot of executive orders from the executive branch, and they're not really supposed to be making up the laws. The congressional branch is supposed to be the legislative. They're called the legislative branch. They should be doing the legislating. And a lot of legislating is being done from the bench, which means the judicial branch is making laws, which is not right. So we're out of whack. One group was very much left out in these dealings, and that, of course, is the African Americans. And Thomas Jefferson knew that they shouldn't be making that compromise, but otherwise the southern states wouldn't become a part of the Union without being able to keep their slaves. So that was a big horror of a mess. Never should have happened, ever, ever, ever. Cannot compromise principles like that. You know, it's not of God's law and God's will. So then we fought the Civil War and freed the slaves. In World War I, we fought over in Europe, fought darkness, and then in World War II, fought the horrible darkness of Nazi Germany, killing 6 million Jews, and 6 million Jews and other political prisoners and things. But wow, that's another horror. That's almost unbelievable. And the generation that fought the Civil War, got out of the Depression, not the Civil War, fought the World War II and got out of the Depression of the 30s, Tom Brokaw called the greatest generation. And in the Amazon book publishing online, they give this review. They say that not only did this greatest generation share a common goal, they also shared common values of duty, honor, economy, courage, service, love of family and country, and above all, responsibility for oneself. And today in our society, we see so very little of these ideas being manifest in so very few parts of our society. We all have to get back to the duty and honor, economy, courage, service, love of family and country, and above all, responsibility for oneself. Nobody should be taking care of us except ourselves. In the 50s, we started worshiping the anti-hero with James Dean, started doing the rock and roll, which lowered the energy of the love flame from the heart to lower parts of our anatomy. And kind of all the energies in our country started falling from a higher level too. The one good thing, of course, was the Black Revolution, because finally, after they got really violent, finally got to have some laws made specifically that said that nobody can be discriminated against by race, color, or creed. They're called the Blue Laws, established in 1964 under President Johnson. And still, of course, we have ridiculous people who still espouse racist ideas and discriminate, but very much going away by God's holy grace. Thank God. And today, I believe that if we follow God's mission or divine plan that God's put in our heart, in our gut, and really work towards that God will get us where we can be successful, instead of worshiping the darkness, and start worshiping the light in this country as we are supposed to. Thank you.